brother, in that part, we're talking about like energy in the bhajan. So I feel like this is a good one where we're talking about correct hand posture for clapping. This is a cool question. Okay, it says according to the picture showing the Ayurvedic positions, um, it shows both clap. Basically, what is the proper hand posture for clapping?
So, I also saw this question pop up in this chat
Group
box.
chat.
So, when we clap like this is actually known as the Qawwali clap. If you've watched like Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and his group, all of them, doing the Qawwalis, they're actually clapping like this, and it produces a very different kind of sound. It's more bass heavy. Brother Irvin, feel free to chime in. But when we clap like this, it's a little louder, right? So you can vary it up based on how you want the bhajan to feel, right? If it's a slower bhajan and you don't want your clapping to overpower, perhaps doing this is better. But if it's a faster bhajan, louder session, it's the last 10 hours of Akhanda, last 10 bhajans of a global Akhanda bhajan, and you want to pump up that energy, clapping like this might be easier. And from a scientific perspective, when we clap like this, right, there's your hand makes like a little cup, and you're literally popping an air bubble every time you clap like this. So it depends on where you're trying to apply your claps. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't clap for slow bhajans. Even for slow bhajans, we can always clap, and that kind of sound, it's the equalizing of how the sounds, the different claps sound together. It's important what kind of clap we choose to do for the particular bhajan at hand.
I was going to add to that, bro, and just say that I just find the clap in Sathya Sai Bhajan so powerful. It's very unique in that it's not dull. It's also very clear. It's also not overpowering. Like, I'm not a percussion person myself, but I feel like all of our hands, they sort of fit perfect in this little pocket. I think we can even do it on our laps. Most of our boys, we just cup our hand and we can just make that pop noise. But it's just so unique to our bhajan that I think as long as we remember that it shouldn't be overpowering and it shouldn't be quiet, somewhere in between is the sweet spot there. Good. So that leads into
before you jump, there's a comment right in the chat that's about this. Clap for this first speed. Some people don't.
Okay, so I have a quick answer for that. And different centers do things different ways. But if you ever sat in Baba sitting there, I guarantee you're not going to clap. So in that situation, it should be full power all the time, every time, from that first bhajan to the last bhajan. There's no like sleeping in the first speed and then dolak turns on and then there's clapping there's no slow bhajans and sai bhajans. There's no boring bhajans and sai bhajans. So there's something wrong if we're not clapping in that first speed. If we're not full energy all the time, there's something I'm doing wrong. Just my opinion, Rushi.
And
exactly.
Last thing about clapping too is, while we're on that topic still, is be mindful of who's around you, and don't overpower other people as well, like in your clapping, because sometimes it can really hurt your neighbor. So just be mindful of that. Whatever you do, just be in sync with everybody else. That's all. Let's go to the next question.
Sure. I'm just trying to pick some good ones. Yeah. When we lose ourselves in the bhajan, sometimes changes happen impromptu. How do we control that? Because we're lost in the bhajan, we're not necessarily thinking of our bhajan, because we're so deeply internalized. I'm happy to go first if you guys want.
Go for it.
Okay, I think there's levels to this stuff, right? So deeply internalized, like, what does that mean? So if I'm deeply internalized to the point where I forgot the recipe of my cooking, that's not a form of seva anymore. That's back to my home thing. I'm doing what I want. So I think my personal perspective is, yeah, you can be so efficient in your practice that it seems like you're lost in the bit. But for me in my stage, I don't feel like I'm so lost that I forget everything and now I can forget the tune and the words. Like, I still have to be focused, especially in a public setting. I think we can practice enough till we get very comfortable. And so it appears that we're lost and it's very easy. But I still think that, the responsibility has to wake us up during the execution.
That's a great answer.
Yes. I mean, there are minor details that can happen, and then it's obvious because we're human, and it's okay. It's okay. We should normalize that this is okay. All helps you not actually lose that all track, and so maybe having like a cheat sheet for your bhajan lyrics, or helping yourself, finding what helps you is important too, right? Because we're not all the same as well. So anything that would help you to keep that track and keep your focus there during the bhajan session is key. And I think like everyone should be on the same page in terms of your bhajan coordinator and instrumentalist to help you out, especially when you're a new singer, because I think that happens a lot to newbies.
Lose yourself in the bhajan, but don't lose the connection.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think what's nice is these guys have obviously lost themselves in the preparation too, right? They've done a lot behind the work to get themselves in that idea. That's the crux of it, I think, right? As how much you guys are doing in your private time. Okay, next question.
I just wanted to add, sorry, one more thing. Like,
Please.
personally, when I'm sitting in a bhajan session, sometimes I am singing, playing tabla, and like I have my phone or my iPad doing sound at the same time, right? So it's important to maintain focus during bhajan sessions.
Okay, this is a bit tricky. How should chorus singers follow the lead singers, particularly when they make an error? Rushi?
What I personally do is I try to take them back to the right lyric or the right tune. Because that's what the rest of the congregation will probably know as well, right?
Yeah.
So I try to follow back with the right tune, and then especially if it's the first speed, right? They'll generally make the error on the first iteration of that line. By the time the second iteration happens and they've heard the chorus sing it the right way, they'll correct themselves.
I'd love to take a stab at this. For example, if the lead singers, for example, makes a mistake, the chorus should already know the song, because ideally, and maybe this should not just be the ideal situation, you have practiced the song at the center and it's ready to be sung at the center, but way beforehand, right? So your chorus group already knows the song and can pick up from where you left off. If you didn't hit the right note, you fell off beat or anything, your chorus should never be surprised. They should know the song. So the practice beforehand makes it really, really important.
It all goes back to that car analogy when we're going from the airport to Prashanti late at night, right? If your headlights go out, everybody else's headlights will still guide the way.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. Next question. What about people who cannot pronounce the words right based on their language? Is it not the intention that matters? I'm happy to go first. I'll tell you why, because this is my problem. Okay, I speak one language, English, and I just steal a bit of French from whatever we learn in school. So what I'm singing at a center, I don't often know, or I'm not often natively aware of. Okay, so I think it took me a second to say, is this like, should I sing it like a Canadian? Or I think the best way to do it is make sure that someone who understands Sanskrit and these languages can understand the words. And I think also as a Canadian, it's very tempting to do something in my own way, whether it's Spanish or Mandarin. We heard these comments in English. But I also have to think of, like, why did Baba initiate Sanskrit words? Like, why are they important? And actually, when I look into the history, I'll realize that actually that's the original language, and they are more powerful words. They are actually more efficient than the English language in some ways, So it just takes me a second to be, aware that there's more going on than maybe what meets the eye. And then doubling down and attacking that job properly to say, hey, look, it's my job to sing a Hindi song in Hindi, not like I'm faking it. You almost have to do the opposite job. So it's our responsibility, I would say, double the responsibility if we can't speak the language to make it clear.
Actually, I wanted to add about the languages, right? I went to the bookstore in Prashanti once, both Books and Publication Trust, and there was Sathya Sai Speaks, volumes 1 to 43, all lined up. And so they had the Hindi translations of Sathya Sai Speaks, and the stack of 43 books was about yay long, right? But then, and even the Telugu stack was about yay long, right? But then the 43 books for English were about this long. Because in the English language, the Indian languages such as like Telugu, which is Telugu and Hindi, which are heavily based in Sanskrit, the words used in those languages are so powerful that it takes perhaps 2 or 3 times the amount of words to translate those words into English.